We'd written one screenplay for somebody who was trying to get a movie on, and we did a screenplay. We didn't even belong to the Guild then. We didn't belong to the Guild until Needle Park, I think. You know, you can't do it on your, you don't belong on your first movie, and then after you have a movie, you have to belong. I don't remember exactly what the sequence was, but Needle Park was something that I had read I just picked up a paperback. It was by a Life writer who had written a piece for Life about Needle Park, and I thought it would make a wonderful movie. And so John and I and Nick, John's brother, who was a producer, you know, we managed to scrape up enough money to get an option on it. And then we wrote a treatment, and then we wrote a screenplay. But we didn't have a clue how to do that, but we did it.
Good morning.
Kill yourself doing that.
I'm not hooked, I'm just chipping.
We researched it. We didn't know very much at all, but we spent some time in Needle Park, and we actually stayed at the Alamac Hotel. Our scheme was we were in New York from California, and we weren't going to see anybody we knew in New York. We weren't going to leave, as it were, in Needle Park. And it became clear, like the first night, that we were going to have to leave just to go to Bloomingdale's and buy some sheets, because they had no intention of changing towels, sheets, anything at the Alamac. It was really it was a junkie hotel, I guess. Well, there wasn't a whole lot of action going on. It was just people. I mean, one of the difficult things about doing the research was you couldn't make a date with anybody. You couldn't say, why don't we meet around 4 o'clock? Because they didn't operate that way. I mean, junkies don't. So we just kind of hung around, and we saw people making arrangements for their next meeting, you know.
No, man, I didn't boost any cat food from you. Now, what would I want with some kitty litter?
At that time, that entire part of New York was SROs and worse. When I say SROs, I mean single room occupancy. That entire part of the west side of Manhattan was totally beyond the pale. I mean, it was run down to the point, it was run down, and people were sleeping in the hallways. It was a dangerous part of Manhattan in a way that just doesn't exist today. I don't know exactly when it changed, but it was certainly after this picture was made.
I'm sorry.
Took off my bed?
There wasn't enough to go.
Hey, don't look back, my nickel bag! Where's his money? Come on.
Our agents took the treatment to various studios, and it was picked up by AFCO Embassy. That was Joseph Levine, and it was sold to him by somebody in his office. Sort of famously, it was sold to him with the line "Romeo and Juliet on junk," and that was what it was, you know.
He didn't like responsibility much.
Who?
Marco.
You stuck on him or something?
No.
Proves you ain't dumb.
Nick and John and I, we'd kind of done it together. We kind of did it as a threesome. I mean, we consulted each other on everything. Nick was more active, obviously, than we were, because he had actually produced pictures. Jerry was great. I mean, once we talked to him, there was just no question in our mind. So he had a good feel for.
Why, you charge rent in this germ factory? You ought to pay me to stay here.
There were two people who were most dramatically considered for Al's part, and one was Al, and one was Bob De Niro. And they were both fantastic. I mean, I saw them both when they were trying to get the part. And they were both fantastic in quite different ways.
I know a guy down the hall in one of the rooms, and he told me.
said, there's this terrific-looking chick in room 424, so I thought I'd come in and take a look.
I think we probably saw Kitty's character as the lead. Now, as it turned out, when Jerry came in, he saw Al's character as the lead. But that kind of thing always happens. But what I mean is we saw it specifically, we thought it was about a middle-class girl who got mixed up with a junkie.
You're asking how much I'll do for you.
Yeah. So?
So?
I thought it went very smoothly. It all happened very fast. I think there was a lot of hard stuff because, I mean, from Jerry's point of view, there was a lot of hard stuff because we were using real locations. You know, there wasn't room for the actors to move, so it limited us to a certain method of shooting. When we saw the first day's dailies, I couldn't believe that that anyone had actually bothered to bring, you know, you write exterior Needle Park, but you don't think anybody's going to make it up. It was a moment in time when people were making little pictures too. Everything cost $1.2 million. Nothing costs $1.2 million now. It didn't make any money, which was the criteria then for how something got critically received, really, it seems to me. We did go to Cannes with it, which was very thrilling, and it was the first time I ever went to Europe, actually. We had an amazing time with it. Its place in my career is everything. I mean, it's the only place in my career because it, as you say, it did open up all of those doors. For one thing, we had an agent after, and for another thing, when I say that it didn't make any money and that that it wasn't dramatically well received, it was well received in the business, which meant that we got offered things. So that was. So it was, for us personally, it was a huge. The next I think we did Play It As It Lays from a novel of mine. Then we did a couple of pictures for other people. We did an Otto Preminger picture, and we did a couple of other things. Then we made A Star Is Born. That was a big Hollywood movie in terms of the moment, you know.
Seen Bobby?
I mean, as a picture, when it was first made, as with every picture when you first make it, I, of course, had slightly different ideas of how things were going to look or how they were going to. Jerry had one idea, John had one idea, Nick had a different idea, I had a different idea. As I saw it a year ago at the Film Forum, there was no other idea. I could not imagine it with any of the ideas that I had had. It was a great experience.